had so many great talks with him and had so much respect for the man as far as the guy behind the microphone, and so much respect for what he did off the field, as we say, just around the community and that kind of thing. And our hearts were broken on Friday night with that news. And I know East Carolina officials are trying to get together right now to figure out, how to, a nice memorial service or whatever they decide to do. But I know Paint It Purple on Wednesday night for the basketball game. They're asking fans to wear purple to honor Jeff Charles, and that's a great idea. So if you're going to the basketball game, make sure you wear purple. But I just wanted to send our thoughts and prayers to Debbie and the family. I know it's a very, very, very difficult time. And Pirate Radio, by the way, later on this afternoon, will dedicate the 3 hours of Pirate Radio Live in memory of Jeff Charles, and have different folks call in and give their thoughts on Jeff. But just wanted to share that as we kick off today's Brian Bailey Show. We'll take a commercial break. Austin Knight, pitching coach at East Carolina, is our guest. Back with our show after this.
The Angus Grill is your premier spot for the best burgers, cheesesteaks, and brisket sandwiches around. Join us for our unmatched variety of burger combinations, from the mushroom bacon Swiss burger to the jalapeno popper burger to the original Angus classic. Pair that burger with our amazing onion rings, tots, fries, or sweet potato fries. Angus Grill, with 4 amazing locations in eastern North Carolina, including Winterville near Pitt Community College, on Jarvis Street in uptown Greenville, and on Statensburg Road near the hospital. It's the best burger around, guaranteed.
East Coast Grading and Utilities is your source for clearing, hauling dirt, and concrete work. East Coast Grading and Utilities handles all sewer and water issues as well.
I'm David Vaughn. Whether putting in a new subdivision or helping you with any and all of your drainage problems, I can get the job done. Call me at 531-7494.
No job is too big or too small. East Coast Grading and Utilities. Friends helping friends. 531-7494 for East Coast Grading and Utilities.
Hi, I'm Ken Hagler of Taft and Hagler. We're proud to be sponsors of the Brian Bailey Show and the Pirate Nation on Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation. If you've been injured on the job or due to someone else's negligence in an automobile collision, call us at 752-2000 for a free consultation with experienced professionals who care. Go Pirates!
Did you know 1 in 5 Americans use alternative wellness practices? And this number is growing, with good reason. Your CBD store empowers modern wellness through premium hemp products. We're the #1 CBD brick and mortar in the world, with products for sleep, focus, recovery, and more. Our products are the gold standard in hemp wellness. Your CBD store, Greenville, 420 East Arlington Boulevard, or call 999-5127.
Must be 18 years of age. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The convenience of Pitt Greenville Airport is waiting just outside your front door. Service is back, so you're connected to destinations worldwide through flights from American Airlines. Plan your next trip. Book your flights today at flypgv.com or aa.com.
Avoid the long check-in lines and congestion at the big airports and fly local at PGV. Fast, convenient, and close to home, PGV has American Airline flights perfect for your next trip. Book today at aa.com. PGV, where the pirates fly. Are you one of the estimated 17 million people in the U.S. suffering from dry eye disorders that are not resolved using over-the-counter or prescription eye drops? Ask ArcPoint Labs about Serum Tears, a natural dry eye solution. At ArcPoint Labs, Serum Tears are tailor-made for you, from a quick blood draw, providing a sterile and natural option to help those with dry eye conditions. Contact your ophthalmologist or optometrist for a prescription, or contact ArcPoint Labs to help you find one. Visit ArcPoint Labs' new location on Dixon Avenue near the intersection of Arlington Boulevard, or schedule online at arcpointlabs.com.
This is Holt Nailers, and you're listening to Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, providing reliable utility solutions to the Greenville region since 1905. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to our show on this Monday. Finally, it's game week at East Carolina for Pirate Baseball. And Pirate Baseball means so much to so many in our town and our community. And I mean, it's just, I say it all the time, but it's like, we get a chance to cheat winter because spring starts on Friday, despite whatever the weather is. And I'm not going to ask Cliff what the weather there is, but it's one of those things that it's just really magical to watch the guys go out. And baseball seasons, you wrap up, you're freezing cold for a couple of games, and it starts to get warmer, and then flowers start to bloom, and then next thing you know, you're in May, and then you're playing for postseason, and it's just a great time of the year. East Carolina Pirate baseball. Austin Knight, pitching coach at East Carolina, joins us live in the studio. When you look at what this program has done since you've been here, you were here as a volunteer assistant, you move up to the role of pitching coach. I mean, it's got to be really rewarding inside to know what all this team has done.
Absolutely. And first off, thanks for having me. Always love to come in here and break down some Pirate baseball.
I love it.
That I can, but it's unique. It's unique. You look across America, and there's some really, really good baseball programs out there and really good baseball leagues. But for what, Coach Godwin and Coach Palumbo and everything that they've been able to do since they've been here and setting the culture right and just being consistent throughout their 9 years here. And then you look up in the last 4 years, we've been able to host regionals and, host our first on-campus super regional ever last year. And so it's definitely rewarding, and I'm blessed and fortunate and thankful to be a part of it.
We have our Facebook Live feed going, so if you have a question or comment for Austin Knight, please feel free to pass them along, and we will get those to Coach Knight. Let's have the breaking news. It broke earlier today as Cliff Godwin's making the media rounds today, but you've got a rotation for this first weekend. Let's talk about that a little bit. And on Friday night, our Friday night starter for East Carolina Pirate baseball, at least for the first weekend, and the way he pitched last year, he'll keep it a long time, but that's Carter Spivey.
That's right. And so, it's actually, I was telling Brian when we walked in here, I feel like it's the earliest that we broke this news.
Yeah. I was shocked.
First thing Monday morning, making the media's job a little bit easier. But, we'll go Friday night. We'll go Carter Spivey, coming off the year that he had last year. And really, he's just continued to improve. He's gotten better, and he's made the most out of every single day that he's had on the field here in his last year at East Carolina. And, the thing that we know about Carter is, you can talk about all the stuff that he has, but that you're going to get a mature outing out of him. And that's so valuable when you start the beginning of a weekend series, is knowing that you're going to have a guy that's been in the fight, that's going to outwill the opponent, that's going to go and execute his game plan and put his best foot forward to help us win the game.
Did you guys ever figure out who that guy TBA was last year? Because he kept popping up in the rotations, didn't he?
I saw it at times. It was on the rotation a couple times a week.
He had to pitch Saturday and Sunday a lot of times, didn't he?
He ended up being pretty productive throughout the course of the season.
He was very good.
That was we were joking about it before we got on air, but it was definitely interesting to navigate. But during that 20 game run, it was a lot of fun because it was definitely a non-traditional approach. But going into the game, that was the plan. It was going to be, let's see if we can get to the lineup one time with our starter, and then hopefully hand the ball to Saylor or Spivey, or there at the end of the year Ben Terwilliger or whoever, or Agnos, and became pretty unique because you get to the lineup a couple times and they may score a couple runs, but obviously our offense is pretty good and would give the ball to our best guys in the fourth inning towards the end of the game, and it kept us in a lot of games and obviously was very successful for us.
I thought Carter Spivey was kind of like a quiet 8-0 and a quiet 2.83 earned run average, because he came in, he slammed the door, and you're like, glad we got Carter, that kind of thing. But next thing you know, somebody said, well, who's going to be the pitcher of the year in the American? It might be Carter. And I went back and looked, and I was like, well, yeah. I mean, look at those stats. He's got to be the pitcher of the year.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Nobody more valuable to a team than what he was able to do last year. I mean, him and even Garrett Saylor, even though Garrett Saylor's numbers don't reflect that from last year, just the ability to be able to take the ball and give you consistent outings. But definitely, extremely valuable for what we were doing last year. And the thing about him is he's just so consistent. It was so consistent throughout the course of the year, whether he was pitching one time a weekend or multiple times a weekend or throwing 2 innings a clip or, throwing in the midweek or whatever, you knew exactly what you were getting.
When you look at his strengths, when you send him out there on Friday, what do you look for?
Well, his strengths, what I just said a second ago, is that he's mature, he's older, he's smart, he's intelligent, he can control himself, he's very competitive. But as far as his repertoire, it's a good four-seam fastball. I think, Friday you could see it anywhere from 91 to 94 miles an hour. And then last year, we were really cutter heavy. He threw a lot of cutters last year. It became his bread and butter. And so that's still in the mix. But again, again, when we addressed what we needed to get better at this season, and we met prior to kind of starting that up in August, it was just to make him a little bit more well-rounded. And so, yes, he still has the cutter, he still has his bread and butter, but the actual repertoire, the 4 pitches, it's much improved. And so I think it'll look a little bit different. Now, again, we're gonna win and go off of his strengths and what he does best. But he's definitely a more well-rounded pitcher today than he was in June of last year.
When you send him out there for that Friday night game, what are your expectations? What do you hope to get out of it?
I don't know that there's an answer to that other than just having a quality start and going 1 pitch at a time, and all the normal coaching answers that you're going to get from me. Just 1 pitch at a time and handling 1 hitter at a time, and go out there and give us what you got. Coach Godwin always talks to our guys about just being closers. Everybody closing out innings, closing out pitches, closing out hitters, and things like that. And so, it's not that of course, every coach can sit here and say, well, I'd like to see 7 innings. I'd like to see no hits. I'd like to see no runs. I mean, of course, it'd be fantastic, but we try to stay out of just that result-oriented mindset and just say, hey, we're going to go out there and trust the process, trust what you've been doing for the last 7 months, and go out there and enjoy it, and go execute your game plan.
We'll go through the rotation first for this first weekend, then we'll come back and talk more about who comes in next and that kind of thing. But on Saturday, you decided with Trey Savage. Why Trey there in the Saturday role?
Well, because he's earned it in the preseason. He didn't pitch much in the fall, but we sent him out last summer and wanted him to train as a starter. And so he went out and pitched in the Valley League, and he pitched really well and was a league all-star for him, and started the whole summer and came back. We gave him some time to rest early on in the fall, just because I felt like we had rode him pretty hard there at the end of the season, where he was pitching in some capacity in a lot of games. And so gave him some rest, and then we built him back up. And then this preseason, honestly, really, he's probably been our best pitcher this preseason. And just as far as what he's been able to do, and I mean, he threw 5 innings on Saturday, and it was like 75% strikes, and he's just earned the opportunity to go out there, and it's premier stuff, but it's also a lot of strikes. And he's another guy that he's grown a lot. He's grown a lot since you last saw him against Texas in that night game when it was after the rain. He's a different pitcher than he was then, in a good way. And so when we sat there and evaluated it, we knew that he can always go back to the bullpen if that's what's needed.
Right.
But here in the early season, we want to see him go and start games, and we want to see the other bullpen options and who's going to emerge and kind of take over some roles in that manner.
And I know this, but some players, they just have a role that they like a little bit better, and when you put them in a new role, you have to see if they're going to adjust to it or not. It's the same guy may be a much better guy out of the bullpen than he is as a starter, and you've seen that many times, I'm sure.
Yeah, no question. And so that's definitely a piece of it. But the difference with Trey and all these kids when they get here, they'll tell you, maybe excluding Garrett Saylor or someone like that they all want to be the Friday night starter when they come here. That's their goal. When we're recruiting them, that's what they want to be. And of course, it doesn't always work out that way. But the thing about Trey is that, if he was still the 2-pitch pitcher that he was in, last year, I don't know that we would necessarily want him to go into the rotation. But now, because of how much he's improved and how much he's mastered his craft, and he's throwing 4 pitches into the strike zone, and it's really good stuff, it's like, well, we can definitely see this guy maturing and definitely think that he can handle the starting position. And so that's the goal, is to find out, earlier here in the spring.
I would say when you guys are scrimmaging, the Carter Spavies, the Trey Savages, I mean, when you're throwing against your offense, I mean, you're throwing up against some really good hitters. And if you're getting those good hitters out, you're going to get a lot of hitters out.
Yeah, and our hitters are as tough and as well coached as any in the country. And
right.
Of course, they're extremely talented. And so whenever our guys do, pitch well against those guys and compete well against those guys, it should give them a ton of confidence, but yeah, it's definitely a challenge every day. I'm excited to not have to call pitches against our hitters anymore. I can tell you that, because they're just tough. They do a really good job at the plate. They're tough to strike out. They get their swings off and hitters counts. And so definitely navigating through our lineup is it's really good for our guys moving forward into the spring.
Is it at that time right now where you want to play a different colored jersey?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you guys may have passed that already.
Absolutely. And it's fun. There's good, parity within the team, and guys still trying to earn positions on both sides of the ball. And of course, it's fun, whenever they're obviously competing against their best friends, their roommates, and things like that. And so there's obviously some smack talk that happens on and off the field from that standpoint. But I think all of our guys are, we're going to finish today with a scrimmage and have this week of practice. But I know they're all excited about competing against somebody else and kind of seeing where we stack up, because I think they're feeling pretty confident at this point.
So that's the schedule for this week. You get a scrimmage today.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get a day off before opening day?
Well, we had yesterday off because
Sunday
of the rain.
because of the rain.
Yeah,
okay.
And so we'll scrimmage today, and then we'll have a good week of practice, and just go over some just the bunt defenses and pickoffs, and kind of make sure that everything is the way that we feel good about it. And then you get to Thursday and have a little bit of lighter practice, and then of course it's go time this weekend.
Man, go time. George Washington in town. All right, we're still going through the first rotation, the first weekend rotation of the year, and then on Sunday, Josh Groves. We've seen a lot of him.
Yeah,
a couple of years.
Yeah, and definitely excited about him. And that was something with that rotation. I felt really good about putting two experienced guys on the front and the back end, and then obviously Trey pitching in a new role. He's still experienced. So he's been in some really big situations, but I think having those two guys who have started pitched quite a bit in our program, and then Josh, who has started a lot for us last year, coming in and pitching on that Sunday. Definitely excited for him to kind of take over that role and go see what he can do, because he's had a really good offseason as well.
Take us through the process of how you guys decide on your rotation. I mean, when do you start? Do you start talking about it from day one of practice? Do you start talking about it from the fall?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then, when you finally say, okay, let's do it this way, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and there's really the process starts at the beginning of the fall, and we kind of label guys as maybe possible starters for us, and from there they kind of make our job easy or hard from that standpoint. Is how do they handle it? How do they handle starting and pitching multiple times to a lineup? How do they handle bouncing back in a week rotation, a 7-day rotation where they're having to go and throw at a high volume basically once a week? And so we kind of label guys from the beginning, and it could be anywhere from 6 to 8 guys that you're going to say, hey, these guys are going to start, and we'll extend them, and then the other guys we'll treat as relievers. And there can be some finagling during the process where we say, all right, this guy's throwing really good, let's see what he can do as a starter now. But yeah, it starts at the beginning, and then as the fall goes, it usually becomes pretty clear, because guys will start separating themselves. And same with the early spring. We kind of start that process back. You feel good about what you accomplished in the fall, and you kind of try to roll it into the spring and see where we're at leading into the season.
Okay, so the first rotation, Friday starter Carter Spivey, then Savage goes Saturday, Gross goes on Sunday. We'll talk about the bullpen coming up in just a bit. Interesting conversation with Austin Knight, pitching coach at East Carolina, as we get you set for Pirate Baseball. Opening day. Opening day's got to be just the best day of the year, isn't it?
It is one of the best, for sure. It's a lot of excitement. Hopefully, and we won't talk too much about the weather, but usually the weather is fine, is good enough on opening day. But it's definitely exciting from a coach's perspective. It's just nice to see those players run out there and be excited about the work that they put in, and they get to go compete and put it on the line. And that's what gives me a lot of joy and excitement about it, is just seeing those kids go out there and compete and have a lot of fun while they do so.
And as we've said so many times, it's just such an important part of the fabric of our community, Pirate Baseball, and so many people want to go out there in the jungle and start the tailgating about 1 o'clock and
so cool,
and be fired up and ready to go at 4 o'clock for the first pitch. So we'll look forward to that for sure. Austin Knight, our guest, back with more on the Brian Bailey Show on this Monday after this.
This is the Pirate Radio Sports Break presented by Ron Ayers Motorsports, Highway 11 north of the airport in Greenville. The ECU women's basketball team picked up their 17th win of the season after blowing out Wichita State 79-62 yesterday in Minges Coliseum. Danae McNeil led the Pirates in scoring with 22 points, and Farmville Central product Amaya Joyner had her 10th double-double of the season, finishing with 21 points and 10 rebounds. The 17 wins are the most for the Pirates since the 2014 season, when that team garnered a WNIT bid. The ECU women's lacrosse team fell to Navy yesterday 15-14 in Johnson Stadium. The Pirates and midshipmen moved to 1-1 on the season. And Pirate Nation is mourning the loss of the voice, Jeff Charles, who passed away unexpectedly in New Orleans on Friday. Pirate Radio will pay tribute to Jeff this afternoon at 3 o'clock on Pirate Radio Live. This has been a Pirate Radio Sports Break. I'm Shirley Rhodes. Did you know 1 in 5 Americans use alternative wellness practices? And this number is growing, with good reason. Your CBD store empowers modern wellness through premium hemp products. We're the #1 CBD brick and mortar in the world with products for sleep, focus, recovery, and more. Our products are the gold standard in hemp wellness. Your CBD store, Greenville, 420 East Arlington Boulevard, or call 999-5127.
Must be 18 years of age. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Deep to left field, this should be the ball game. Dale Murphy wins it for Atlanta.
Hey, baseball fans, when's the last time you met a 2-time National League MVP and a 7-time Major League Baseball All-Star? Well, your chance is now, as Pirate Radio is bringing Dale Murphy, legendary Atlanta Brave, to Greenville on Sunday, April 2nd. Table sponsorships and ticket information's online now at pr927fm.com. Don't miss your chance to meet a living legend and hear Dale Murphy talk about his career, leadership, and there'll be a question-and-answer session. It's Dinner with Dale Murphy, Sunday, April 2nd. Details online now at pr927fm.com.
This is Stephen Igo. You've heard from me plenty on Pirate Radio Live and perhaps have read some of my work on hoistthecolors.net. Now, get an extension of our in-depth coverage on the Hoist the Colors podcast. From game previews to immediate post-game analysis to emergency podcasts for breaking news, we've got you covered. A cast of guest co-hosts from fans, former coaches, and other writers join me for 2 podcasts weekly to break down all things ECU athletics. Subscribe to Hoist the Colors now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts.
Fifth Street Hardware can make your Valentine's night easy and memorable with that special someone. Fifth Street Hardware and Cupid have you covered with a Valentine's Day 4-course dinner. Seating on Valentine's Day night will be at 6 p.m. and 7:30 only. Make your reservations today at Fifth Street Hardware, located on Fifth Street beside the State Theater in downtown Greenville. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for more special events and daily specials. Fifth Street Hardware and Tap Room.
Pirate Radio.
You know, I think this is a pretty blue-collar, tough, hard-nosed fan base, and that's where our teams are going to be.
The voice of the Pirate Nation. You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities. Community-owned, community-powered. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back on this Monday. Austin Knight, pitching coach in East Carolina, is our guest. Pirates open up with George Washington. 3-game series coming up this weekend. Friday's opening day set for a 4 o'clock first pitch. Before we go into the bullpen for Pirate baseball, I want to talk about some technology. And I asked Austin during the commercial break about the watches. The pitchers will wear a watch, and you'll be able to send them the pitch that you want to be thrown through technology.
Yeah, you're laughing about it. Huh?
I know, because I'm like, can you send them a text message and say, hey, find the strike zone now?
That option's not on the,
it's not on
remote,
there.
so I'll have to go out there and tell them that. Hey, the strike zone is right there. The plate is going to be in the same place.
Or can you say like little things like, hey, I know the ump's not very good, but keep trying.
Oh, no, it's not as advanced as like a cell phone necessarily. But, yeah, our guys have basically they wear a wristband, and it's got a little slot for a small monitor, really small monitor. And so I have basically a remote in my hand, and I'm able to just send in the pitch call or send in the pickoff or send whatever, and it vibrates on the wrist, and they get the sign and they go. It's really simple. It's really easy. You know, I know I just told you off air that I'm a traditionalist when it comes to all this stuff, and so I you would rather just be able to just let the catcher and the pitcher just call the game like normal, but the reality is there's more software, more scouting technology out there than there's ever been. There's more video, and so in order to protect our signs getting stolen, it's the simplest and most effective way, I would say. And it's it helps the pace of play go pretty fast too.
So do you send just a fastball, 2 a curveball, that kind of thing?
We have a sign system, and we have a zones for what we do.
That's my next question.
Yeah.
Is it like 1-7 would be fastball outside?
In theory, that's how you can set it up that way, and so it allows you to send, I think, 6 numbers, which I don't use 6 numbers. I mean,
maybe if you seen it pitcher out there going, okay, 1 + 6 - 5.
I don't want those guys out there decoding the sign, going through an algorithm out there. We don't necessarily need that, but you can have zones on there, so you can put, like I said, up to 6 numbers, which we don't. And then for you have something for each pitch. Basically, it's really the same as the catcher calling the game. It just shows up on their watch instead.
Pitcher gets it and the catcher gets it. Obviously.
Well, we actually have them for everybody on the field. And
so exactly, because, and I've seen that so many times, that when you get into the weeds of baseball, your center fielder is going to move on certain pitches. Your third baseman is going to move on certain pitches. I mean, everybody's probably going to move on.
Yeah, in some manner, usually, especially depending on the pitch and the rhythm that the hitter's in, and we can get into all sorts of detail about that. But it just helps them position themselves a little bit more, which in turn helps them learn the game a little bit more. And so our jobs as coaches is to eliminate our job, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is inform and coach the players enough to when they get out there, they know exactly what they're supposed to do whenever the situation arises, and there doesn't have to be a whole lot of hey, you need to do this, and that. It's no, I got this sign, I know that I need to move 4 steps to my left here, and so it simplifies from that standpoint for sure.
Plus, you guys got the bench coaches too, kind of maneuvering folks around too.
Yeah, always. Coach Palumbo and Coach Bortles and Coach Godwin will do that as well, and they do a tremendous job at it. And but the more that you can teach those kids how to do it, how to play the game, how to position themselves, the more obviously they'll be equipped and ready if they have the opportunity to go play professional baseball. But they're also thinking the game. They're thinking the game whenever you're out there and they're playing, and it don't have to be Coach Palumbo screaming out of the dugout with 6,000 people in the stands trying to tell people where to go. Instead, they know, he's throwing a slider here.
Yeah.
Probably a tendency is he might pull the ball to the 6 hole as a right-handed hitter, so I'm going to take 2 steps this way.
Right. Man, the problem, though, with technology is that there's somebody out there right now trying to figure out how they can steal that, right?
Yeah. I'm sure. I don't know if us baseball coaches are smart enough to figure out that science, but I'm sure there's somebody out there.
George Washington, I'm sure they have a computer department. No, but you hope nobody does that.
We'll make sure we ban all
But there's got to
that.
be some kind of technology, too, that kind of, the waves, I guess, the radio waves that's transmitted to or something.
Well, luckily it comes like we all have our own transparency. Our own system there, and so it doesn't. There's no way that they can get that stuff. But I'll make sure that we don't let them bring satellites or computers into the dugouts.
There'll be a balloon floating over Clark LeClaire.
I'll shoot that thing down.
That's good stuff. All right. Josh called in. Actually wrote in last week and was asking about the bullpen. But he wanted to know, is the pen compare this year's pen to last year's bullpen? What do you got?
I think, time will tell with that. On paper, when you look on paper, I feel as, confident about just the length of what we have in the bullpen and in our pitching staff as really in a year that we've had, as far as just pure stuff and the ability to go out there and do it. Now, again, like we said, I think the last time I was on a show, we were sitting here breaking down, we're going to play Campbell, and we were starting Carter Spivey against Campbell last year in the first midweek of the year. At that point, we didn't know Carter Spivey was going to do what he did.
Right.
And so a lot of those things will emerge as the season goes on. But I feel really good about the pieces in the bullpen, and that's, one of the things that gives you confidence in allowing both Spivey and Trey to go into the rotation. You talk about Garrett Saylor, a guy that's been here forever and is just so just valuable. He can pitch in so many roles, and he'll be one of the first guys out of the bullpen, and he's just extremely experienced. He's been in the fight. He's done it all, and so you have a guy like him. You have another guy, a transfer from VMI. His name's Tyler Brott, who. He's got a really, really special arm. I mean, he's going to throw the ball in the mid-90s. You can see him really in the upper 90s at times like that, and has really good secondary to go along with it, and has the right mentality. He's a tough kid. He wants the ball. He's competitive, and so excited to see him kind of move into that role and see what he can do. You have other guys such as White Lunsford Shankman, who you saw last year at times. He's taken a step forward and he's more of a sinker baller and a slider guy. And then you have a guy like Jordan Little, who has been up to 95 this preseason, has really good secondary stuff as well. And I could go on and on talking about the guys and the talent level that they have on the staff. Now again, They have to go do it. They have to go do it, and they'll get opportunities to go do it early on in the season and kind of start emerging into those roles, because, you think on paper that, you have it all, you have all the roles figured out and what it looks like for the first weekend, but these guys really will go and perform and make these roles their own, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as the confidence in the bullpen, man, there's a lot of confidence, and I think that we have the opportunity to be able to mix and match. I think there's some velocity in there. I think there's some, low slot right-handers. You got some good left-handers in there, and so you feel like there's a good opportunity to mix and match towards the back end of the game.
Will there be a closer per se? Will it be somebody you're counting on? Hey, that's our closer, or will it be by committee?
It'll be slightly by committee, but the way that we do it, as you guys have seen in the past with Spivey and Saylor and guys like that, there's certain guys that we like to start innings that we feel like are going to throw strikes and not hurt themselves as much, and then there's guys that we might bring into bases or runners on base type situations that have strikeout stuff. And so that's the way Coach Godwin and I have kind of formed the bullpen over the last few years, honestly, and it's showed some success. But I feel like there's some guys who pitch better with less traffic on. There's some guys like Trey last year who could rise to the occasion whenever there was guys in scoring position and do some special things. And so that's kind of the identifying process of that. I think that those guys that I just mentioned early on with Saylor and Brott and Little and some of these other guys that can definitely go out and finish a game, so to speak. But that doesn't always mean that they're going to be pitching in the ninth inning. That could mean that we're in a situation where we need them in the sixth and we're going to give it to them.
And I think that we all as fans lose sight of the fact that if the bases are loaded with nobody out in the sixth, the game's on the line.
That's right.
So don't hold your closer till the eighth or the ninth.
We would be crazy to do so, because you don't know what inning, what pitch, you don't know when you can win or lose a baseball game, and if you leave your best bullet in the bullpen in those situations and they're trying to wait to get the ball to them in the ninth inning, then, man, the game can be lost. It could be the difference in it being a 3-2 game or a 5-2 game in the ninth inning. And so, we try to identify those opportunities and give the ball to the right guy, the best guy, and sometimes that can be the starter, or sometimes that's another guy coming into a situation and getting a big punch out or whatever it might be. And so it's just important for us to make sure, especially with our offense and the ability that we have to score runs, is to understand that those are the pivotal spots in the games. They can come in the middle, they can come in the beginning, they can come at the end. It's not it's not like in the baseball rules they say the most important inning is the ninth inning. They're all important.
Yeah.
And so we have to figure
equally
out,
important.
It's exactly right. So we have to figure out how to not allow them to score runs in all innings. And so I think, but even if you turn on Major League Baseball, right? You turn on Major League Baseball and you get into playoff baseball, so to speak. The starters are going less. They're bringing in their best arms earlier in the game. And then, they may give the ball to the closer, but they may give it to him in the eighth inning and go eighth and ninth, And so
I may have to get 4 outs instead of 2.
That's right. That's right. And so they understand the importance of, and of course they have, the best pitchers in the world, and they're still kind of playing it the same way. And so from our standpoint is, can we get the right guy into the game for the right situation and allow us to maybe, get through a jam and then allow our offense to go and do what they do.
Got a lot of questions and comments coming in on our Facebook live feed, so keep those coming. We'll take a commercial break right now. We'll come back. We'll continue on with Austin Knight getting you set for the Pirate baseball season. It all starts on Friday. Back with more after this.
Your vehicle is a big part of your life. That's why you should trust the team at Greenville Auto World for all your vehicle needs. Greenville Auto World believes in fair prices, superior service, and treating customers right. Visit GreenvilleAutoWorld.net to see their fully stocked inventory of SUVs, trucks, and cars. Need a lift kit, custom rims, or wheels? Greenville Auto World can upgrade your vehicle today. For sales or service, visit Greenville Auto World on Highway 43 in Greenville.
At Papa John's, we start with better. Like marinated oven roasted chicken tossed in our new hot lemon pepper sauce, kind of better. And now you can find them on the Papa Pairings menu. Get 2 or more Papa Pairings favorites for just $6.99 each, only from Papa John's.
Hey Pirate fans, Papa John's is the MVP move for game day or any day. Place your order online at papajohns.com and sign up for Papa Rewards. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Go Pirates!
This isn't your regular cola, so this isn't your regular cola ad. No beach parties or family barbecues here. just Nitro Pepsi, the first cola ever infused with nitrogen. So forget everything you thought you knew about soda, because that nitrogen gives us a whole new experience. Think an infusion of smaller bubbles for a cola that's got a lighter, smoother texture. And don't get me started on the pour. You don't pour this like any other cola. We're talking turn the can completely upside down and watch as those bubbles cascade into the glass to create a frothy, luxurious foam topping. Can your cola do that? I didn't think so. Unless you've got your own Nitro Pepsi, in which case cheers to your great taste. Because you already know that the only thing better than the pour is the unapologetic cola taste. What else is there to say? From the creamy foam to the smooth texture to its unbelievably delicious flavor, this is cola like you've never had it before. Time to bring your taste buds to the next frontier. Nitro Pepsi. Smooth, creamy, delicious.
If you wake up in the morning with a backache, feeling more tired than you did when you went to bed, you probably need a new mattress. And the best place to get that mattress is Factory Mattress. Hi, I'm Kirk Smith, General Manager. For more than 40 years, Factory Mattress has been Greenville and Wilson's local mattress dealer. We guarantee the lowest price on the area's best selection with over 50 models to choose from. No seconds or overruns. Factory Mattress offers only first quality direct from the manufacturer. Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. The most highly trained sales associates with over 60 years of combined experience. Same as cash financing with zero interest up to 48 months and free local delivery. Face it, to have a good day, you've got to have a good night. So sleep better knowing you saved money at Factory Mattress, locally owned on Greenville Boulevard in Greenville, on Forest Hills Road in Wilson, on the web at factorymattressusa.com, and a proud member of Pirates Supporting Pirates.
Pirate Radio!
Pirate Radio. Pirate Radio.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities. Community-owned utilities mean local control, low rates, and high reliability. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back on this Monday, getting you set for East Carolina Pirate Baseball, Pirates, and George Washington coming up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Clark LeClaire Stadium. Friday's first pitch set for 4 o'clock. We'll obviously, of course, keep an eye on the weather because we don't know what's going to happen with that this time of the year. I hadn't even looked at the weather forecast. What have you seen so far? Have you seen anything? 50-50? Does it look bad? Oh, okay, I haven't looked at it yet.
It looks okay, honestly, right now.
Good.
There's a chance leading up to game time that there might be some rain, but we'll be able to get it in if it stays the same, you know. But the rest of the weekend looks beautiful. I mean, it'll be a little chilly maybe on Saturday, but nothing bad.
Great. Looking good weather-wise. All right, let's go. Al writes in and says, which pitcher has had the wow factor this fall and early this spring?
The wow factor.
The wow factor. What do you think?
The wow factor. Like I said, I think that Trey has been our best arm in the early preseason, where you're like, wow, I mean, it looks the part. But I mean, really, a lot of them have pitched really well. You know, like I said, Spivey's been really good. Saylor's been really good. Tyler Broad has been really good. Josh Groves has thrown well. Landon Ginn has thrown well. Jordan Little has thrown well. A freshman left-hander named Zach Root has thrown the ball very well. I mean, I think that there's a lot of guys that I think it's hard to say wow because, you know, I mean,
you expect a lot of that.
Well, yeah, and you expect them to go out there and do what they can do. And of course, I've had my eyes on them since August, you know, and some of these guys for 2, 3, 4 years. And so excited about where a lot of them are. Like I said, as far as the wow factor, like, oh my goodness, this looks really good, is Trey has been that guy early this spring. I need to stop talking Trey up. He's going to listen to this and get a big ego about him or something.
Just send him a message on his watch.
I'm gonna. That's great. I'm just gonna go to practice today and just give him some humble pie.
Yeah. Get on him.
Yeah, I'm going to. But no, I think that early on it's been good. I mean, it's been good from all the standpoints. It's been good on both sides of it. I mean, the practices have been awesome. They've been extremely competitive. Both sides of the baseball have been good, and definitely excited.
That's one thing that we've seen, you know, when you're close to the baseball program or the football program and you see guys come in, but the old adage, iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. And I think you really, you know, I think early in my career, I didn't understand all of that. I was like, you know, if that's your starter, that's your starter. But, you know, the competition just seems to make everybody better.
It does. And, you know, I think positionally, from the position player side of things, it's been as competitive of a preseason as I've seen since I've been here. I mean, the guys who are fighting for positions, I mean, there's a lot of guys back who already have positioned, or I say have done enough to earn those positions with, Jacob Jenkins-Cowher and guys like that. But the other guys have really been putting the gas pedal down, man. They've been playing extremely well, and they bring, I think Coach Palumbo probably talked to you some about this last week. They bring a diversity, they bring a different type of game to it than maybe the guys that you say or we say are going to start. And so, you can see a lot of guys, in my opinion, that'll play this opening weekend that are plenty capable of starting on any given day. And again, those position players have been tough. Their approaches at the plate are extremely good. They play good defense. They've done a lot of really good things this preseason.
I think the word that Coach Palumbo said was amazing, but I think we were talking about the depth last week, and I think he said our depth is really amazing. So I asked Cliff for the coaching show last week. I said, Coach, your depth is amazing. But I wouldn't say it's amazing, but but I think he realizes that it's very, very good. And the trick and the reason that I have the utmost amount of respect for Coach Godwin is that he's able to take all these talented guys and find roles for them, and they want to excel in those roles. They all know now, when they come to East Carolina, I think they all think they're a starter because they've been starting all their lives.
No question.
They get here, and they look around, and they're like, okay, that guy's pretty good, and that guy's pretty good.
Right.
What's my role going to be? And Coach says, hey, this is your role. This is what I need you to do, and they flourish in it.
No question. And it all starts with the culture, and it all really starts in recruiting and making sure that you're getting the right kids and getting kids who are selfless and match your program. And, they're obviously very talented as well, but the match piece of it is the most important piece, is making sure that these kids, when they come in, they're going to make sure that it's the team aspect first. And so, but within that, again, the culture that Coach Godwin sets it's that's what's expected of you when you're in this program. And if not, then, you don't have to be in this program. It really is.
There are other programs.
That's 100%.
Right.
And it really is that simple. And, from there, it's just the honesty that our coaching staff has with each kid and explaining, hey, this is where you're at right now. This is what you need to do to get better or get on the field more. And usually those kids take that in stride, and they understand whenever the game starts, and maybe their role is, I don't know, a pinch runner in the seventh inning. They're ready for it. Or maybe it's a defensive replacement, or maybe it's a middle relief guy, whatever it is, but they understand. I think that the honesty piece of it is what prepares them for it. And so, I think Coach Godwin, Coach Palumbo, Coach Bortles, I think that they do such an outstanding job of just communicating with these kids and making them just understand that, hey, this is your role. It doesn't mean that you got to be happy with it necessarily, but be the best at it as you possibly can be. And good things will happen.
And your role can change.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You see that all the time. You see it all the time where guys, they don't start the season in the lineup. They don't start the season in the rotation, but they make the most of their appearances, whether it's, in a blowout game and they get in a bat and they get a good swing off. And then Coach Godwin, next thing you know, says, hey, I may put this kid on the DH the next day. Those things happen all the time. And so understanding any opportunity that you have is important, and it's important to show that you can obviously handle your role, but moving forward, I mean, that's what will get you more opportunities to get on the field.
And one of the best parts about the banquet each year is hearing some of the guys, and you hear guys say, I met with Coach, and the suggestion was maybe I should transfer because I wasn't doing the things I needed to do, or I could figure out some things, and then they flourish after that.
Yes, and I feel like it's not always the cleanest thing in college athletics. It's not always you come in and you're the best hitter on the team or whatever, and so there's always usually a pretty pivotal point in someone's career that says, hey, I have to do things either a little bit differently, or I need to work a little bit harder, or if I want to do the things that I came here to do. Yeah. And so there's usually a process, a point where you say, hey, this is that time. Like, you got to work harder. You got to get better at this. This is what you need to do. And you either say, yeah, I'm going to do that, or, hey, you know what? I don't know if I see eye to eye with you, and that's okay. It's okay if you don't, but usually everyone has those moments.
All right, Josh writes in and says, Jonathan Childress, the transfer from Texas A&M, what do you see his role?
Well, he's still working through some arm pain, some arm soreness. He had surgery back in April, so we're at this point not totally sure. We're just trying to get him to where he is feeling good consistently. It's been up and down with him from the standpoint of one day his arm is good and he's facing hitters, and the next day it's kind of bothering him. And so the main goal for us right now is just to make sure that his arm is feeling good before we ask him to do anything as far as the season goes.
How hard is that for a player, especially a pitcher, with the arm soreness, and is it major, is it minor, is it, I'm recovering from an injury? I mean, it's a fine line through all that.
Well, recovering through injuries, there's always going to be just valleys, and it's just a tough thing, because one day you can wake up and feel like you're 100%. And then you throw maybe a tick, more than you should have, or your volume's a little bit more than you should have, and then the next day you feel awful. And so recovering from injuries such as shoulders or Tommy John and things like that, there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, and you got to work through them. You got to work through them the best that you can. But it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating, and for Jonathan specifically, he's had a pretty hefty medical history from his time at Texas A&M to coming here, and he's we're just working as hard as we can to just make sure that he's confident in his arm, make sure that he's feeling good consistently, and then we can start moving in that direction.
When you look at your bullpen as a whole, and you go in with a starter, say Carter on Friday, Carter and what he does, is it different on Saturday with what you would come in with after that? Is it all game by game? It's not a set role where, okay, the first guy out of the bullpen is going to be this guy, but on Saturday it could change because of different situations?
Yeah, I think the game will dictate a lot of that stuff, and we do a lot of scouting prior to it, and so you have an understanding of what may work against these guys, and then, of course, when the game starts, sometimes that's thrown out the window, and
right.
it kind of gets flipped on its head a little bit, but, it all depends on, we try to go game by game as much as we possibly can, and just stick to, hey, let's win this game today, and then we'll figure out tomorrow when it gets there.
That worked really well last year.
Yeah, 100%.
Because TBA was warming up all the time.
TBA was always hot. He was always
ready to go.
He was getting the ball going into the game. But I think that you have an idea of what you want to do, but the game can, it'll dictate it for you for the most part. I mean, if it's a close game, you're going to go to your best guys. If it's maybe an extended lead or vice versa, then you may give the ball to somebody else. And that can change obviously what Saturday looks like depending on how much one guy was extended, how much they didn't throw, whatever it may be. And so yeah, there's always a plan going into each game, but the first game is the most important one, and we're going to do what it takes to win on Friday, and then we'll get to Saturday whenever we get there.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Starts on Friday, 4 o'clock, first pitch, George Washington and East Carolina. We'll take our final commercial break. We'll come back, and then we'll wrap things up with Austin Knight, pitching coach at East Carolina, as the Brian Bailey Show continues on this Monday, game week Monday for Pirate Baseball after this. The Rick House is Eastern North Carolina's premier restaurant and bourbon authority. Jefferson's, Basil Hayden, Woodford Reserve, and a Midwinter Night's Dram are just a few of the incredible bourbon options. The Rick House features the very best steaks and fresh, made-from-scratch pastas. The Rick House can host your corporate event or special parties in the 3,000-square-foot banquet hall. Join the Rick House for Sunday brunch from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and for the wine tastings on the last Friday of every month. The Rick House.
Greenville Utilities electric customers will soon be able to receive text notifications in the event of power outages. Enrollment is automatic, so make sure GUC has your cell phone number by signing into your account at GUC.com, then update the information in your user profile. Want to talk with someone instead? Call 252-752-7166 during business hours. 252-752-7166. Update us so we can update you. Visit GUC.com for more information.
It's bow time. There's something special about the first bite of a Bojangles Cajun Filet biscuit. Like an edible alarm clock that slaps you awake with bold Cajun flavor. The moment you sink your teeth into that soft, fluffy, made-from-scratch biscuit, then strike gold with a juicy piece of fried chicken, you'll know. Nothing beats the first bite. Except the second first bite. Get a Cajun Filet biscuit combo today at Bojangles. It's bow time.
BMS Builders is your premier custom builder in eastern North Carolina. With homes in Blackwood, Mills Creek, Dalton's Cove and Farmville, and Belmar and Ayden, they're constantly expanding. Now to Laurel Glen and Sarah's Way, plus the new duplex community at Abigail Trails. BMS Builders can build the home of your dreams. Just ask Dr. Dennis Ross in Greenville or ECU football coach Mike Houston. They built their homes, and they can build yours as well. Call 916-1578 for BMS Builders.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville, do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers. Be sure to check out David Price Construction for all of your commercial or custom residential renovation and building needs. Run by ECU alumni, David Price Construction specializes in commercial projects, maintenance on facilities, and large-scale residential renovations and additions. Proud to be voted the Remodeler of the Year by the Home Builders Association of Raleigh-Wake County in 2018 and Best Business Commercial Remodel Project winner for 2020. David Price Construction, the proud ECU Home Services partner.
This is Josh Gross, and you're listening to Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, working for our community, not for shareholders. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back as we wrap things up with Austin Knight, pitching coach at East Carolina. Got about 8 or 9 minutes to go in our show. Our Facebook live feed continues. If you have a question or comment, we'll pass it along in the next little bit with Coach Knight. When you look at a game situation and you're in the 6th or 7th inning, what's the talk like between you and Cliff as far as, should we go get him? What's his pitch count at? All those factors come into play. Obviously, if he's mowing people down, or if he's giving up big hits. But I mean, how does the conversation go there? And then when does Cliff decide? Because when Cliff walks out of the dugout, pitcher's coming out.
Yeah, that means he's coming out for sure. And yeah, there's consistent dialogue that's going on with that. But a lot of that happens prior to the game with, hey, this guy may be a good matchup for this situation. This guy may be, in this situation. And so, he has basically a sheet of paper with the guys who are hot for that day on it. And so he's already gone through his process of figuring out who he likes. And then as the game goes on, and the game will tell you certain things. And but we're always talking, hey, what do you think about this guy here? Do you think that the starter is a better matchup against this guy than pitcher X or whatever?
Right.
And so
the starter through 5 innings and a third who just gave up a double, is he a better option here than somebody fresh out of the bullpen?
That's exactly right. Those are the conversations.
And it kind of depends.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. And sometimes, that can happen, right? He can give up the double in the 6th inning, but then the guy coming up next, he's a really good matchup against him. And so we'll say, hey, we'll give him this hitter, but the next, whoever's in the bullpen needs to be ready for the guy after him or whatever it might be. And so there's always conversations that are going on and dialogue. And but ultimately, it's Coach Goblin's decision whenever he's ready to pull the trigger. It's his decision to make and go out there and get those guys.
George Washington's on the clock. What do you know right now about GW? How much scouting have you guys been able to do on George Washington?
Yeah, it started up this morning a little bit. They have a good amount of returners from their position player wise. I don't necessarily know what they have back on the mound. I think they have their top arm from last year back, but after that, I'm not totally sure. They'll be well coached. They'll have good approach at the plate. They'll do the little things right. That's what I've gotten up to this point. And I've watched just a couple of their hitters this morning, just getting a baseline scouting report on those guys and go from there. But as Coach Goblin will tell you, we're much more worried about ourselves and much more worried about our practice today and our scrimmage today and kind of getting through the week and making sure that we're prepared, which we will be, and making sure that we're worrying about ourselves as opposed to necessarily, of course you're going to respect anybody that comes here. I mean, I think that if our guys didn't get that message from the first series last year.
I was going to say that I think last year's team learned a whole lot about, you can't just go out on the field, throw the ball out there and take a sweep.
No question. question. You have to play good. You know, if you want to win games, you have to play good, and that doesn't mean that you can't win games when you don't play well, because you're not going to play perfect every single game.
Right.
It's a long season. Baseball is unpredictable in ways, but you have to honor every single opponent that you play. And so, you know, obviously, regardless of who's coming in, every game is important. You know, for the goals that we want to continue to host regionals and host super regionals and get to win a national championship. Every game is important, and it needs to be treated that way. And no game is more important than the other. And so, but George Washington will be well coached. They have some experience coming back. They have older players, as do a lot of colleges nowadays have older players with the portal and different things that happen that way. And so they'll be ready to go when they get to Greenville.
What's it like as the pitching coach to have such great catching talent in your program, like Ryan McChrystal, Justin Wilcoxon, that they both, either one could start, both are going to play a lot. One may DH some, but they're both going to be in there a lot, aren't they?
It's a difference maker, and especially to have older, really good talent behind the plate. You know, with Justin being in our program for as long as he has, and then Ryan, got to watch Ben Newton last year and Justin last year, and so you have a sophomore and a fourth year player. With all the COVID stuff, I don't even know what the classification is. COVID senior, COVID junior, whatever it is. It's a fourth year player, and so they've seen what it takes, and it's such a difference maker from a pitching staff whenever you have guys that can really handle the arms and know the personalities and know what makes them tick. And but those two guys are as good as any catchers in the country. And I put that on any of it. Either one of them back there, our pitchers are going to have so much confidence in throwing to them, which is awesome. It's very valuable.
Do you have any pitchers that prefer one or the other personally, or is it kind of you haven't
not
seen
that they've talked to me about it, but I'm sure that they do. Most pitchers do.
Pitchers are weird like that, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are. They are for sure. They're different birds.
They're like kickers sometimes. They got these little things in their head.
They are. They're different birds. We try to normalize them as much as possible, but it's not always possible. But no, they should feel good about whoever's back there though, because they both do a really good job. They both shut down the running game. They both receive the ball very well. They block the ball very well. They both have leadership qualities that you want behind the plate, and they can both hit. And so
they can both hit.
They're both very exciting players.
Had a chance to see Jason Dietrich. He was back during the holidays for a little bit and talked to him briefly. But how much fun was it to work under him?
Oh, Dietz is the man.
Yeah.
That's my guy. Whenever I need something, or want to bounce something off of him, or even just kind of shoot the breeze and just talk, he's always open. So I'll give him a call, and it usually ends up us cracking jokes for 30 minutes or something like that. But he's the best. I've told plenty of people this, on record, is that he did not have to be as good to me as he was whenever he was the pitching coach here. He's obviously well respected. He was the national pitching coach of the year one year, and here comes hard-headed me coming in and saying, hey, we need to do this and do that with this guy. And then looking back, I'm like, God, that was crazy. But he was always patient, very humble, no ego, awesome guy to work with, obviously very intelligent when it comes to baseball and pitching and all of it, and so I'm just thankful to have that guy in my life, because he was very important to me, and obviously very important to our team as well.
He's on the West Coast now at Cal State Fullerton as the head coach, but he keeps ties with Eastern North Carolina and Greenville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's still got his wife's family live in Virginia, but he's still got some properties and things out this way, and he comes back pretty often, really. Came back over Christmas, came back to our regional and super regional last year, so came to our games last year, and just an awesome guy, really. Just again, very thankful that he was a part of our program and that I got to learn from him.
Take us to Friday now as we wrap things up. 4:00 start time for East Carolina and George Washington. Carter Spivey's got the baseball. What do you look for in Carter early on to know, hey, he's got his stuff today?
With him, it's more just the look that he has on the mound. Because when he's right, he looks determined, he looks confident, he looks poised to go do it. But I don't have any questions that he'll be in that mindset on Friday. It's a guy that I trust, wholeheartedly, that I know that he's going to go out there and he's going to put his best foot forward, and he's not going to make the moment bigger than it is. I mean, the guy's pitched in super regionals, he's pitched in every big situation that we could possibly have. And so more so, I just want to go out there and see him not, just be himself, and that'll be plenty good enough to help us win a game on Friday night. But that's pretty much it. It's much less anything that has to do with stuff, but the determination, the presence. How does he look on the mound? Does he look like he's in control, and those things? And so that's what I ask most of our pitching staff, more so than him having to have the 96-mile-an-hour fastball when he goes out there. I mean, that'd be awesome. Don't get me wrong.
You'll take it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But like, whenever you can look out, and the fans know, you can look out and you can see those guys in the moment and confident. So,
Coach, enjoyed the visit, man. As always, thanks so much. We'll have you out again sometime later in the spring. Hopefully, bring you back in here. We'll talk about how well the Pirate pitchers are doing, because we're looking forward to another great Pirate baseball season. Carter Spivey gets the baseball coming up on Friday, 4:00 start, East Carolina and George Washington. That's our show for today. We'll see you back here next week. Cliff Godwin joins us. Let's get a sweep and then have Coach Godwin on.
Let's go.
Let's go to the
no
opposite.
Pressure, Brian.
Exactly. We'll see you next week on the Brian Bailey Show.
All right.
This has been The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, and also brought to you by
Angus Grill, Bostic Sugg Furniture, Bojangles, East Coast Grading, Papa John's, Pepsi, The Rick House, Greenville Utilities, BMS Builders, Taft and Hagler, Tiebreakers, and Greenville Auto World.
Join us next week for another edition of The Brian Bailey Show, right here on Pirate Radio. This is Pirate Radio, WGHB Farmville, 1250.